Okay.
Okay, so let me officially welcome all of you. Most of you have been here for a few minutes, so we've spoken a little bit. So we are really proud to have this event tonight. I believe the photography club was the last in-person gallery open we had at the library last year in February, almost exactly a year ago. And then, as we know, poof, the whole world changed. And here we are online with hopefully some light at the end of the tunnel coming our way soon. Fingers crossed. But we did an online opening like this about 8 months ago for our artist group. And Anita approached us about doing one for the photo club. And we said, absolutely. So a little history, the Ulster County Photography Club, which most of you are members, started off as a library program that has grown into an organization of its own. So many talented photographers in this group, and as you'll see tonight as we go through each artist, so many just amazing photographs. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each photographer who has submitted. We'll go through their gallery. When it's your turn, I ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, about your process, what you like to take photographs. Your artist statements are on here, but just to, be a little personable about why you're into it, whatever you want to say. It's really your gallery opening. And again, as people are talking, if you have a comment or a question, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Anita, who I think is going to do our toast, maybe tell us a little bit more about the photography club, whatever you want. Anita, I'm going to pass it to you, and then we're going to let me know when you're ready, and I'll move down to your gallery.
Oh, all right. Well, the first important thing here is cheers, good health, preferably good health, and of course, a good day, good future, good photography. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
Anita, my sheriff is here. He wants to give me a citation for zooming under the influence. DUI.
You know what?
Give him something to
Come
drink.
back later.
Give him a sip.
Give him a sip. Yeah.
I'm sure we're not the first, and we won't be the last. I can remember at the beginning of the pandemic when people in New York City got out on their balconies and they had happy hour that they were recording. So hey, it's already been done. So first of all, the photography club, I don't have to say much more about it, other than I have to only remind myself, because it doesn't always feel this way, that we are simply a club, because I think we're much more than that. In fact, when I selected the title of our club, I wanted it not to be what typically people use. They call it a camera club. And I wanted to really elevate that a little bit to make it the Ulster County Photography Club. And I still am happy that I chose that, because I think it better speaks to who we are. I will offer my time to answer any questions that anybody might have regarding the club, first of all. And we can just open this up quickly for anything that anybody would like to question us about. Everything is published on our website. All you have to do is Google it. The only thing I will tell you is that the calendar is poorly up to date. In fact, it's not even, I can't even use the word up to date, because we've really become almost a evolving schedule. And so we're not able to necessarily plan too far in advance. But everything else about our club is on the web, and you can find out more if you're interested, including when we meet. And when we get back to in person, we'll be meeting the second Wednesday of every month. Instead, right now, we are meeting the second Wednesday of every month, but virtually. So we're keeping that pattern going. And we've had fun with it. We've had a lot of interaction and a lot of good stuff despite it. As a matter of fact, we're even looking at some time in the future when we are back person to person, there may be occasions where we would say, gee, that maybe this would lend itself better to a Zoom meeting, and especially winter months when we're not always sure we can get around, but also just in general, the format may lend itself better to that sort of thing. Are there any questions before I move on? Because I know we do want to keep to a time frame also, and we are limited. All right, then we will start with myself. And you have the blurb that is showing on the screen right now. Pretty much who I am, except getting older and more wrinkled. But other than that, and you know, slow down a little bit. I don't have to take a photograph of everything I see, because I've already done all that. And I'm looking for new ways to grow and learn. And that's what this club does for me. So it is a labor of love, but it's also a great return. And I think the members who are part of who we've made it have feel the same way. So that's about who I am in general. So we'll move, I guess, to the fading. There we are. Okay. So we're looking at my first entry, which is the Shokan sunset, Shokan Reservoir, of course, and it's so much one of my favorites that it's one of the intro photos to my personal website. And I was very fortunate to capture this particular image. Yes, it is enhanced. I will not deny that, but I have a philosophy about being able to enhance things when you feel like doing that as well. The drama and the color just it was already there, just had to bring it out. So I'm entering that into our exhibit. Any questions or comments or along those lines? I think that's how we're doing this.
Yes, Anita, your comment about enhancing, I personally don't have any problem with that as long as you're advertising it as like art. I know it's an old comment. Ansel Adams basically said that your photograph coming out of the camera is the score. What you do after that is the production. And that's the way I deal with mine. And I really like that. I've never been to a Shokan Reservoir. I've driven past it about 1 million times to Mark's place. Never stopped there. Maybe I'm going to have to do that.
Yes, and if you can catch the sunset, then you're even, or sunrise, I assume, would be the drama.
Yeah.
I used to live on the other side of the reservoir and had to cross it daily to my job site, and it would almost seem like every day was a different version of it. It always had something just a little slightly different and still beautiful. So
Well, that in line is like, it's the first time a person gets into a different and foreign environment as a photographer, an artist, or whatever. I'm not a painter, I'm not any of that stuff. You can go completely crazy with the differences, and it's a wonderful idea. And if I ever come up here, Mark, I might be late, but I'm doing photography.
that's wonderful. Very good. Very good. Okay.
Always welcome, Alan.
Very good. Okay.
Excellent.
I think we'll move on. So I call this one the garden at Chateau du Genocide. And as I described it, it was just a lovely version of a rose in a magnificent garden with a backdrop of a magnificent chateau in the Loire Valley of France. And I took many pictures of various versions of that, but this one just said, pick me. So, and not literally pick me, but take a picture of me, pick me as your subject. So turned out pretty nicely.
It looks very French.
Does it look French?
Yes.
I've been practicing.
Yeah.
I'm not very familiar with French pronunciations, but I've been practicing that je ne sais because you know, I want to say something that doesn't match that at all when I try to say it my way. But yes, so it
Was
is.
that champagne on the pedals there, Anita?
No, it was tears of joy. I don't know. Could have been. It was afternoon. I don't think we were doing champagne then, but all right. So we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay, I call this Lily, and I printed a number of versions of this on canvas, and it really pops. I don't think we see the justice of it here, but I have one hanging on my wall as well, and it's just you know, a version of some. I call it. I couldn't resist the capturing of this alluring specimen, and so I mentioned on in my blurb that it's become part of my collection called Beautiful Images, inspired by a book that I received from my daughter that speaks about 6 different elements of photography, and this one is in that collection of drama, and so I'm proud of that one for just the whole approach to it.
Hi, Anita. Yeah, I think you should be proud of that one. Definitely, it's nice. To me, it's nice and soft, and I think you did a great job on this. You know, my eye just goes straight into pretty much the center of that flower. That's a really neat one. Well done.
Great.
Shots, beautiful.
The detail of the petals, everything comes through. I mean, you can feel how delicate it is just by looking at it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I was wondering, is it safe to call this feminine? I mean that in the most flattering sense. Both flowers have a very feminine aura about them, very delicate, beautiful. Is that, that's not going to raise hell with anybody now, is it?
Have another drink of champagne. Second.
Very nice.
No, I could see that as a description. I tend to look for flowers in places, and I know other people of my gender do the same, but I also think that why I pick them, one of the reasons why I pick photographing flowers is because they're very, very disciplined subjects. Unless you're in a windstorm, you know, you don't have to tell them to do anything. They just hang out there and behave themselves usually, and they're beautiful.
Anita, did you do focus stacking or anything on this, or was it one shot with a large depth of the field? Because you got it all in focus, and that's pretty deep. I mean, for a flower.
Yeah, no, that was it. That was it. If you really look, and it depends on how it's portrayed, because when it's printed, you don't necessarily see some of those shadow marks that you're seeing there. It's really more of a solid background, but you know, I don't think they're a detraction necessarily. I think it would be better to not see the shadowing versions that you're seeing there. But no, it's the first shot. You know, you take it and examine it and decide whether it can stay or not.
Well, Anita, with respect to those comments about the shadowing and the blackness, on my machine at the moment, I don't see that. Maybe I'm seeing it the way you see it, maybe I'm not, but I really like this one. There's, you've got detail right in the center, and then some of it blurs off into the background. There's a depth of field there, which I wish I could do that with some of mine.
Well, you know, I will also confess that this is a few years old now. I haven't taken this, actually, any of the pictures I submitted. And maybe that speaks to the fact that, you know, you connect to some of your photography as a critic. And I think we should all do that, which is the reason why I think it's important to be critiqued when you do photography by people who can give you constructive ideas for improvement, or even just not, maybe just simply a positive comment like I'm hearing tonight. But also should be prepared for the some negative comments that can help you to do a better job next time around. And I think we all should try hard to be prepared for that as well. Okay, where are we?
That's on me.
Oh,
That's all. That's okay. Sorry.
no, it's okay.
All right, I'm gonna go on to Maxine because I know she has to leave. Maxine, are you there?
Okay, well, first I want to thank Anita and Brian for putting this together. In some ways, a virtual exhibit is better than in person, because I know that there are people here this evening that wouldn't be able to make it to a Sophus. So in that way, it's preferable to an in-person exhibit. So I started really getting seriously into photography when I retired, which was, I don't know, how about 12 years ago. Let's see, this is 21, I don't know, it was about 12 years ago. It was something that I wanted to do, and I've been, you know, very happy with the way that it's turned out. It's a lot of fun, and you get to meet great people. So we can go on to the first one, Brian. Oh, and you know what I wanted to mention? I'm a session manager for LLI at Bard, and we had a class this morning. If people's pictures are in the way of your screen, you can make them smaller. If there's a little blue horizontal box up in the corner of where the people's pictures are, and if you click on that, you'll just see the person who's talking, I guess. And if you click on that line, you won't see anybody. So that might be helpful to you. So this is, it's a United Nations World Heritage Site. It's in the Czech Republic, and it's called Český Krumlov. And as you can see, I took this photo, shot it from a little bridge that went over the river. So I'm not flying overhead. And it just was very colorful and quaint. And I loved the reflection in the water.
Very nice job.
Thank you. Now, closer to home, this is the Rondout Lighthouse. It was a very foggy day, and the fog just kind of was hovering, you know, over the river. And it's interesting that it wasn't over the lighthouse. It was just in back of it over the river. And I did enhance this a little bit to make it more dramatic and to bring out the whole drama of that morning. So that's all I have to say about that.
Nice. Very nice.
And finally, most of you have probably been to Falling Waters in Saugerties. Usually you're hiking and looking at the waterfalls and looking at the river, but just by the parking lot, there's a little shed there, and it was at the beginning of the pandemic last year, and I was doing a lot of just going out and walking by myself and taking photos. And so it was, I guess, the end of March, and there weren't too many people there, and I just saw that little shed, and I was interested in the textures of it and the colors. So this is the first time that I've shown this photo.
I really love this one. I mean, it looks like a painting almost. I mean, the way the colors and the way the paint is fading on the shed, it just, and everything about it, the way it's framed in the picture, I loved this one. It was one of my favorites.
Oh, I would agree with that. This is this is the sort of thing that people need to look under the rug, and you'll find some wonderful things out there. It's really simple. And you know, Maxine, about your comment about it's been enhanced, I don't care. It's art. Art comes first. When you're in this sort of environment, it doesn't matter whether it's music or painting or whatever. Art comes first. This is not forensics. Simple as that. And I think you did a great job on this one. And that one in the Czech Republic, I had a brief discussion with my wife, Rona, and I thought, oh, maybe you should crop out those buildings on the top. And she said, because it adds to it. So yeah. Whatever you do, there's going to be a counter, right?
That's true. Thank you. And you know, about the enhancements, I mean, some people make comments about that and it's negative. And
yeah.
You never hear anyone say that about a painting.
No, and you're exactly right. Nobody says that about a painting, but they'll say it till their heads fall off about a photograph. So what? It's just another means of doing the same thing, you know?
I mean, our goal is the same. Our goal is to bring enjoyment to people who are viewing our work. And yes. You know, however you get there, I don't think that's important.
No, it's not how you get there. It's the end result is important. Yeah, precisely.
So much of the creativity is here, you know, when you're doing the quote enhancements. Just taking a snapshot with the camera. I mean, the composition and all that is important, no doubt, but there's just as much art and creativity going into the post-processing. So I agree. And I love, especially the first piece, the piece from Czechoslovakia was fantastic, Maxine. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I agree. Hey, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Maxine, a quick question.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about the shadows. I thought this was on the north side of that building. You said it was last February or so.
Last March, yeah. It's facing the parking lot there, so.
Oh, yes, okay, all right. That's west, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I get it. I remembered it as being on this. Correction, thank you.
Okay.
Must be the Prosecco.
Oh.
Before we go on, Brian, and thank you, Maxine, I agree with all the comments. Great job of these. I was just wanted to know, I'm looking just time-wise, are we limited to the 7 o'clock hour of ending?
Absolutely not. I figured there's no way we're going to be done by 7 o'clock.
Okay,
No.
all right. And
Well
and
done.
while I do have you and the floor, I just want to, one of the things I wanted to include right at the beginning, and I want to say it now, this could not have happened without Brian and the library support. I say that emphatically. And every little twist and turn we had along the way, we tossed it around, and it was just what would be the best, not we can do it or we can't do it. It was just always that measure of cooperation. It was delightful, and we have a very, very good friend in our pockets, and we can't forget that. And we have to really show our appreciation for that aspect of it. It's wonderful. It's great. So
You're
thank you, Brian.
absolutely welcome. It was a pleasure.
Okay.
All right, so is Tom here?
Yeah, I sure am.
All right, Tom, I'm gonna,
All four of them.
All four of us are here.
I'm having trouble navigating back. I'm trying to open this into another, just gonna have to live with it. Okay. All right, there we go. Oh, sorry. Let's start with, see, I go back and it keeps bringing me back to this calendar. So I apologize for that, everybody. I will
Just review.
just letting you guys know that there's a calendar here. I just want to make sure that, okay. All right, so Tom, whenever you're ready for me to go to the images, just let me know.
Okay, I'll just a quick introduction. I've been photographing since I was in college, which I won't tell you how many years ago that was, but because of the pandemic, we missed our 50th reunion. But I really took it up again seriously when I retired about 11 years ago. So that's where I'm at currently. My focus is on, trying to introduce an artistic character into my work. And I think that's illustrated in some ways in all three of these. So we can go ahead to the first one. Two of these photographs have a theme related to the pandemic. My wife Linda and I live here in Kingston, and half of the places we go, maybe more than half, we drive by the Trailways bus station. Prior to the pandemic and the shutdown, seemed there were always one or two, maybe three or four buses in the station, picking up and discharging passengers, or just waiting. And we noticed within a couple of days of the shutdown that there were no buses. So I decided to try to illustrate that in a photograph. I got Linda to pose for me on the front porch of our house, and then I took this shot of the bus station and placed her in it with her suitcase, forlornly waiting for a bus that was never going to come. So obviously this is a composite of a couple of different pictures.
Clever.
Is the stop hand signal intentional, or is it just?
It was just there. I guess it was lucky. I could say it was intentional, but
We'll say it's
I'll say it was
intentional.
lucky.
Good job.
that's a good, thanks for pointing that out. I'll remember to mention that
Tom,
next time. Yes.
one thing I would not have said is that you put something in there. This is not about a state. This is more about a statement about art. So I would, if it was me, I would have avoided saying that I put somebody in there. Look, artists with paintbrushes put things in everywhere, but you can't do that in photography according to all of the gurus that are out there that blow fuses when you do that. That was in the last discussion with other people. I think putting your wife in there with a photograph at the right scale actually enhances its work. So I'm not sure that you need to apologize for it. I think it was a good idea.
I wasn't apologizing. I was just
Good.
talking about my technique for the benefit of my colleagues here in
Okay,
the photo club.
that's fine. But in some other
Enough
cases,
said.
they're going to get really upset.
Okay, we can go on to the next one.
That's a great shot, Tom, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Thanks, John. One of the things I did in my younger days was play a lot of bridge. And as you might know, contract bridge requires 4 people, always looking for a fourth. So I thought this illustration of, replicating myself 3 times to get a 4th for bridge was germane to the situation of the quarantine.
Yeah.
One thing I wasn't able to do, again, for the interest of other photographers, is the one in the furthest distance, one facing the camera, close to facing the camera. I wanted to be able to show that person's hand as well in the mirror, but I couldn't quite get to it. So you'll have to figure out from the other 3 hands which cards that person is holding.
So Tom, who's the better bridge player there?
I think the one on the left, because because he's the one who bid the no Trump.
Come on, I love this image.
That was good.
That was a good one, and this image is really fun. It's actually funny.
But this is the first time I'm hearing that that Tom is not one of a quadruple sibling line here. This is new to me.
I thought you were quadruplets there. You
Yeah.
had 3 other brothers here, Tom.
Oh, well.
I love it.
It's a fun image.
Great shot.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to composite something like this, Tom?
Ooh.
Well, yeah, quite a while.
And this is
Quite a
in
while.
layers, right? Is that how
Oh,
you?
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's 1,000 layers in this too, right?
definitely a
Probably.
few layers there.
Except you need a couple of wine glasses there, Tom. What's happening?
It's
Yeah.
true. I
Oh, that was one question I had for you. Where's the wine glasses?
forgot.
You can
forgot
still
to
put them in.
refresh
It's not too late.
it. That's true. That's true.
This kind of underscores our feeling that we can't get enough of Tom Hackett.
Tom is our man.
No, I like that, Bill.
We love Tom.
I think this is
So who
probably,
won the card game?
I think this is probably all a little bit too much.
Almost as good as the clock, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go on to the next one. This really illustrates, well, another way of illustrating my interest in making things a little bit more artistic. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this spot. It's easy to get to. It's in the town of Claverick, in Columbia County. And I was looking for waterfalls actually at this point. The Hudson Valley magazine had an article about them. So I went looking for the waterfall, and what I found was this great red old mill building. And I don't know, I just like it. I don't know what else to say about it.
I like this.
It is. I did use a Photoshop oil paint filter on it. I don't know if you can tell that at this size,
A
but
little bit. It looks beautiful.
And the visual weight and balance is really wonderful in that, Tom.
oh, thanks, Mark. I have another one taken in the winter with the pond covered over with ice and snow in the foreground, but it's on my website. But it came a little too late to include in the show.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can hit the X on the upper right of that, like you do in Facebook or whatever, Brian. There's an
Thanks.
X
You know what?
up at
The X was hidden from view.
Ah.
And I forgot it was there because there's been a person's face over it the whole time.
Oh.
So thank you. Thank you. I
Trying to
wanna-
promote it.
I knew there was a way. I knew it wasn't just
Yeah.
difficult.
Could we see the calendar again, please?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure we'll see it again at some point.
Okay.
All right.
here we
So
go.
Lee,
That is me. Anybody see me? Everybody see me?
No.
Yes, I can
Can
see
you
you.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can see you.
Everything's there.
Okay, well, I'll keep talking.
Good.
I've been interested in photography for a long time, ever since I was a teenager, I guess, and I really started getting serious about it in the late 20th century, I guess I could say, in the 90s. Went to school for photography, but I've really bumped up my game since I've come up here to the Hudson Valley about 10 years ago now. And yeah, all these shots are within the last few years, so go ahead. So this was taken up at a trip to Acadia National Park, and this is what I get. Now I've got a lot of great pictures from the park, don't get me wrong, but this is something that just kind of captured my whimsy, I think. All these different patterns in a row.
This one was, I thought this one was really striking. You know, because I got to see all these images that are in this as they were coming in, you know, and this was definitely one that really, struck me. There's just something so, on the surface, so simple about it, but then when you think about it and look at it, the different, yeah, it's very striking, I think.
Thank you.
My question, and this is what is also, I think, important when you look at a photograph, is to try to get into it or step into it. And I was trying to step into this to say, is this really a flat surface, or is there some dimension to it? Is it, you know, I think I have the answers, but the questions are what the important thing is sometimes when you look at something is to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Keeps your interest, you know, keeps you wanting to kick it around.
Want to know more. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. This image I took this year in the wintertime. We have a plant that actually bloomed. We didn't know it was going to bloom. And I was playing with backdrops, and I had a white foam core board and a black foam core board, and I was using them as backgrounds, and then I just got this idea of just putting them together behind this. So this is one of my images I came up with. So
I like the contrast.
Yeah.
It just makes it stand out. If it was just a flower against a white background or a black background, it wouldn't quite work, but I think you've done well. I'm wondering if you could take well, of course you can take the black, the gray shadow transition at the top and just make it sort of like track along the top there, so it matches the effect at the bottom. That'd make it a different image, obviously.
yeah, I think my thought was to keep the background soft, but still follow at least the direction of the line at the bottom. So, yeah.
I would. Yeah.
It's very well done. Very nice.
I like the yin yang feeling of it as well.
Exactly.
For sure, especially with that flower.
Actually, that was the term I was trying to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Hmm.
That's my sister Anne. I just spoke, so she's in Texas. So this was over at the Ashokan Center. I was wandering around one of the buildings and went inside and looked out and saw this image, and I couldn't resist. And I actually created a frame around it because it isn't a complete window. I just added a frame around it, and I was just playing with that just to see what it would look like. And I I like how it turned out, so.
Very effective.
Yeah, if I didn't read the description, I would have thought you did that in post-processing, but it was from the warping window panes. Is that right, Lee?
The warping is from the window
Oh,
panes. The
that's-
only
it
thing I
really is
added was,
beautiful.
the only thing that I added was the black line
Right,
on the
right. And
left-hand side.
And that really lets us know that it's a window, which is really
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's perfect. And
Yeah,
beautiful.
those sorts of things are really fun.
Yeah.
This one's nice. I'm wondering, Lee, if you could maybe just sort of pull up the saturation and brightness of the reds, just in that building there, smack dab in the middle. Yeah, everybody's going to complain that it's not in the rule of something or other, but I don't care about rules. But if you could pull that up a bit, it would bring your eye on that and really make it pop.
Yeah, I did do that a little bit. And speaking from what I'm seeing on my screen may be different.
Yeah, well, what I see on my screen, and yeah, okay, I'm going to brag, my machine is calibrated, blah, 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 but the reds don't quite pop enough. It's really about what you want to try to say.
Yep.
I'm wondering if you could pull those colors up, the reds up, and a bit of saturation and lightness. I think it would just sort of really draw somebody's eye in there, and you got a bit of a winner there, frankly, in my view.
Yeah. Well, I'll play with
Red looks great here in Highland.
Highland.
I like how the grid imposes order on the buildings that are disordered. I mean, we're not used to seeing that, but it's
Well, that's true.
kind of a neat.
Yeah. Good
effect.
comment, that one.
Yeah.
I'm just glad they're not your windows, because that would be a cold house.
Yeah. I'm grateful that I don't live there.
Yeah. 'Cause I got some windows like that in the attic, and you don't want, it's cold.
Yeah.
Sure.
It
Thank you,
feels
everyone.
like a impressionist painting almost to me. It's so cool that you get that effect just from the warped windows, but
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
I think windows are really a surprise sometimes. You have to spend more time looking at them and through them and what they reveal.
Yeah.
it makes me think of something that Van Gogh would have painted.
Yeah.
Oh, he would have had a field day with this one.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Uh-oh. Wow. There's my, I'm new and beginner. I have you guys to help me, and I thank you. I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of you to go and find help different places, so I have. And I do, I see things and my eye just snaps it before the camera can, actually. So I wanted to do more landscaping, and I thought, no, let's just do some different stuff. And this wheelbarrow is in our backyard, and my neighbor has a good fun time every time I wheelbarrow down to the woods with the grass clippings and that, because he keeps saying, tell Greg to get you a new wheelbarrow. So, but it works and it's great. But the way it was sitting there against that shed and the color, I just started to think of aging. Actually, it was a cold winter day, actually. And I went out to say, what can I take? What can I do in my own backyard? And the story here goes with it, that you could see the formation of aging. And as we grow older, our nuts and bolts get a little bit rusty, the wood grain, the wrinkles, the fadedness, and it just drew to me more than the picture itself. It drew to me the metaphoric thing with
Yeah.
that we held together so well, and through COVID, mind you. So that was so that's that one. This one I went down off of River Road, I think it was, and I just ended up getting a bunch of shots, and I cropped it and brought in the lighthouse. At first it was so close, but I must not have been on the right aperture and shutter speed, because it was a little blurry. I liked it, but someone that I am having helped me out said, it's great, but it's a little blurry. And so we picked this one together, and I just kind of like it because it's peaceful and gentle. And
I would just make a comment that I would have liked to see it as a landscape orientation.
you mean not cropping?
Well, I mean, just wide versus long.
Yeah.
Horizontal.
Yes, it was horizontal. I turned it into, because I was trying to capture the lighthouse more. I felt like I can't see that. And that's what I wanted to take when I took the picture. And I liked that the bushes are in front and the reflection of the lighthouse with the water. There's a lot of layers going on there to see.
Right.
But
I agree with that, and that's good approach, but there's a lot of sky there. And I think
Yeah.
Sometimes
Oh.
it could be considered a distraction. I said I would just like to see it the other way and see.
yeah,
if
that would be a good thing, the before and the after pictures after you've done that, So, but right here with it, right in the beginning, there's a dog poop station, and I couldn't have that in the picture. So
Carol,
I had to crop that.
I think what Anita was saying, I would happen to agree with that. I think maybe you could try a different format and work with that one. With respect to the wheelbarrow one, I think you could really do something with that one, because the story you were telling, maybe you could pull that out in the image. You could work with it. It is meant to be art. It's not meant to be a photography thing. And if you can work with that thing and make it more corroded or whatever the story is you're trying to tell, just play with it, experiment, mess it up a few 100,000 times, which is what I do pretty much all the time. And see how it turns out to tell whatever it is that you're trying to tell. Because that wheelbarrow one, I actually liked. I'm thinking, well, maybe I got a wheelbarrow. I should do something like that. And I never thought about it. You brought it up.
Oh, that's
so
good.
have a whack at it. You never know what will turn out. You could even a monochrome, like a black and white.
Oh,
that
yeah.
might work. You never know what you can do when you start messing with an image that you've got. It's really simple. So have a crack at it.
I did. I was starting to put these pictures on, and somehow I got into a thing on my computer that does like like a show, like a slideshow. And I liked on the wheelbarrow one, it had all different black and white on top of color, one in back of another. And I got my camera out and started taking pictures of that, taking the slideshow on the computer. And I was thinking, oh, that's crazy. I'm not gonna put that up, but it was good. I liked it. So
yeah, I get that. But one of the things I've trained myself to do is that I don't go for the plugins for pretty much anything. I try to do everything myself. You can make some great, amazing monochromes or whatever that don't require a massive expenditure of somebody else's ideas of what you should be doing. And that's the main thing. And I think with this one, the one showing on the screen at the moment, I would, as Anita said, I would have turned this into a landscape format and got rid of the lot of clouds, because I think the subject is that lighthouse. Mm-hmm. And if you can make that pop out a bit and push everything else into the background, you might have a pretty good one there.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, one thing always want to be thinking about is what is your subject? And
What is the
are
lighthouse?
other things overwhelming that subject so that the viewer now kind of loses that? And I would agree with everything here as far as the sky. I mean, it's a nice sky, but you don't need that much of it, you know,
Yeah,
and it's really the lighthouse and perhaps the foreground going into it. I don't know that it needs to be a landscape. I mean, I don't mind really strange aspect ratios. I could do it in a square and just bring that sky down. I don't know what's on the sides, in other words, if we were going to make it a landscape, but I would bring that sky down because I think your focus is really there in the bottom with the sky being a balance to it, but not being over. It's 2/3 of your picture right here. So
Right.
Well, yeah, and with respect to what Mark said, yeah, I would agree with him, even if I did not agree with him on occasions. With respect to this, is that this is sort of it's a landscape and nature photography, and nature photography by its genre is chaotic. Within a certain extent, you need to be able to include the chaotic nature of landscape, but decrease it so that it doesn't overwhelm it. And that's one heck of a problem. I think every single painter and photographer on the planet since who knows when has had a problem with nature. It's chaotic. How do you decrease that? But how do you bring it back in to give you a punch? You know what I mean? That's what that's about.
I agree with Mark, what you
if you
said
can bring
about
out that,
rounding it off and bringing the sky down. I think that's
yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol. It's beautiful.
So we were out hiking, and yes, here's another picture I probably could have made bigger and taller, but when I see interference in the picture that I took, compared to what I saw it for, that's when I just want the viewer to see what I saw. So it's a dead tree, and you know, who takes pictures of dead trees? But I just stopped. I liked the texture. There's a lot of textures and colors, and where, you know, it just looks like where everything that you could think of lives. And so I looked up holy trees, and of course this is what they said it was called, a snag, until recently. Then they named it wildlife tree, and they named every living thing that could live in there, which I wasn't going to put here because I only had so much space to say what I thought. But I don't know if I would truly, I'm just going to say this, hanging this in my house, but I liked it for the darkness that it looks like who's in there, the lightness that it showed the texture, and then the blur in the background that it didn't show everything else around it. That was the subject for sure, unlike the lighthouse. So.
No, the bokeh is great, and this
you.
could almost come back to your first picture, the vintage of aging, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yuck.
I agree with that. You know, I think that vintage, what's it called? Vintage of aging? Yeah.
I think she said.
You can really do something with that one. I think it's going to be fun. I'd be really quite curious to see. This one might be along the same lines. It's so simple.
Yeah.
You could really work the living daylights out of this thing. I think, and I'm struggling with this all the time. What are you trying to say? And I hate that. Have we got a story to tell? Oh, no, I don't. So, you know, if I was trying to tell a story on that one, you've got to think about what you're trying to say, and maybe work on it. It could come out as something fairly extreme. Could be quite fun. I think you've set yourself up with a fun one here. Have a nice time.
Okay, well. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Marion, are you here?
And happy birthday, Carol. Is it your birthday?
Yes, it is. I wasn't sure who let that out of the bag there.
I don't know. Somebody wrote it in there, and then I noticed it. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
Your daughter.
Oh, my daughter. There's one of my daughters. Oh. Maxine, I knew Maxine years ago. I used to cut hair on her, and many, when Megan was little, actually. and my daughter. And so, you know, we got reconnected here with the photo club. And so when she said happy birthday, Carol, I was like, well, hell, wow, man, you remember that? I mean, that's like, I'm telling you 20 years ago, who the hell remembers everybody's birthday? So then I'm thinking, well, I don't know how that got out, but so, oh, well, thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I have always been the family photographer for a long time. My father used to be a photographer and he used to have a dark room in the basement type of thing. But when I moved up here, I hadn't done it in a while. When I moved up here, there were so many beautiful places to take pictures of. I kind of became a landscape photographer. So that's where I am. That's what I'm doing now. The
Oh, wow.
Oops.
Wow.
Marion, you need to unmute.
is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a big thing on my screen that just says select the microphone. I can't even see what's going on, but okay. So this is the Clearwater. And because of the pandemic, it was stuck in port most of the summer. And it would come out and do a sale of one sort or another. So I have many, many photographs of the Clearwater. But it's unusual because there's no people on it. You don't see very many people on it, where normally a Clearwater sale, you do see it's loaded with people. And I just like the way it got framed in the trees at that point with the green trees in the background. I thought it was a little bit more romantic, even though it kind of blocks its trajectory down the river, but I liked it with the trees.
I like it too.
Yeah, I do
Like
too.
that.
The framing's very nice.
And the water is clear.
Marion, the framing is great. Maybe you could, this is again art. It's your image and it's your feelings. Maybe you could pull up the boat a little bit more by giving it some more exposure on the sails, especially because the sails are really what attracts the eye. And the star on the top, people would go for that. If you would pull that up, it doesn't take much, just a little fraction. I think it would make it pop a little bit and push the background down a little bit. It's a statement you're trying to take, and I think the statement is, this is a really neat place to come, and I wouldn't mind being out on that boat. I would really, as my personal preference, like to be out on a boat than stuck in New Jersey. So if you can advertise me to that, that looks really good. So pull it up a little bit and push some other stuff back a little bit. And with respect to the top there, if you crop out some of that skylight up there, the blue, it doesn't help.
The little bit of sky that's stuck in.
Yeah, just get rid of it, just crop it down a little bit. I think you'll have, you know, the archetypal come and visit my part of the world stuff. You know what I mean? Because I think that's where that one is. That one is like, that makes me want to get on a boat and go down the river. But punch it up a bit and I'll come to your boat, you know?
I like it. I think it's great. It looks good. Very pretty.
The next. Okay, this one, this I took a couple years ago, and I went out on a day to take fall photos. I needed fall photos, and I started on the other side of the river, and I did a whole bunch of photos going down to Poughkeepsie, and then got on the walkway. And while I was on the walkway, I was disappointed looking back at Ulster County that there really wasn't a lot of bright color, and I was wondering, should I change the lighting or what should I do? And then this train came along, and I looked down and I went, it's got all the fall colors. So I just took the picture and kind of brightened up the colors and everything, because I was just fascinated by the fact that this train had so many different colors in it. It was almost like shooting a street scene with different color houses on the street. So this was one of my, I really enjoyed this one. because of all the colors for the autumn.
Marion, is that
great spot, 'cause you
the
can see
walkway
the-
across the Hudson?
The what?
Is that the walkway across the Hudson?
Yeah, it was taken from the walkway across the Hudson. Yeah, that's the Highland landing there.
Oh, really? Okay, okay. Wow.
If you haven't been, you gotta go.
We've been there, but I haven't seen that, so I got to go back again.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow.
There are ways also to get a little color into the sky, even though it's only a little bit showing. Might have just made the trees pop a little bit using a little Photoshop, enhancement. And do you know what I'm referring to?
I think so. Right now, that's beyond my technical capabilities, but
It's just a suggestion again. I
Yeah.
just think the contrast of the blue or color clouds, whatever, something that would again, make the colors of the trees pop is all. It's pretty. I can see the rest of the train lingering in the right side, way in the
way in the
back.
back. Yeah,
And
it's a neat spot because the tracks curve in and out, and you can see the train. It just snakes along. Yeah.
It's one of those photographs too, where the more you look at it, the more you find.
Well, if you look at this large building here and enlarge it, you will see Tom, Hackett, and Linda. This is,
All four of them. All
this is
four.
where they got, this is where you had your wedding reception?
Well, okay, folks, but with respect to this image, if you were to crop it a little bit so that it comes right on the right-hand side, the sky is sort of a yellowish gray color. If you were to crop that across, would it make a more powerful image? Because to me, it's about the train and the colors, and the material and the sky above is distracting. I have been there once or twice. I sort of get it. And I think I agree with Anita. If you could punch up the colors a little bit, my additional comment would be to try to crop out that stuff at the top that's a little distracting. And
Right now on my screen, there is no top. The picture, the top part of the picture actually just blends in with the background here. I
Right there.
Yeah, right there. I can just barely see it now.
Right.
So
I see it as a
Yeah.
everybody's computer screen tends to get calibrated a bit different, but I see it as a sort of a yellow green.
Yeah, my only concern with cropping it is that it brings it down. You cut off a lot of those trees, but I also agree that area is just kind of what one of the photographers that I went on a photo workshop with called it the big white blob, and you want to avoid big white blobs, and it's kind of that, because it is a sky. We know that just because we know the sky would be there, but it sure doesn't look like a sky.
Yeah, I agree,
If you
Mark.
can bring the color out, that's great. If there is a way to do that, and I know there's ways of doing it, but you got to kind of match that color. I'm afraid if you crop, you're getting rid of maybe too much of what that other color is, the trees, because if you came straight across there, a lot of that color goes out. But
I don't know. I think if you
around with
cropped
it.
it out, punched up the colors, you'd have a good one there. But yeah, I certainly agree with the great white blob thing. Yeah.
You might find that a polarizer will help.
Yeah.
For a lot of landscape
Yeah.
photography, polarizers are really a good
Yeah.
idea.
Oh, absolutely.
Photoshop has a sky replacement tool now.
Oh, I
Works very
hate
well.
it.
You're not supposed to mention.
Sorry
that.
sorry to ruin the day, but I just I don't like it. And as for AI, I hate it even more. My brain is better than any instrument, I think.
But some days the sky just doesn't do it for you. But I'm not usually a sky replacer, but you're absolutely right, John. And it's an amazing tool now. They've really done amazing things in Photoshop with that tool.
And if you don't like
Oh.
tools, you can do it yourself. It's doable.
But that's true. Absolutely, I agree.
I think I was probably framing and so that I was not, I was lifting the camera up so that I would not take the railing.
Well, that's great, but I think that
Yeah.
from my personal point of view, I would crop it down to it just gets on the right where the trees hit the edge of the composition, and just crop it down, because the rest of it doesn't help. And because the subject is the train, that's what the story is that you're trying to tell. And once you've cropped that out, then you can have a field day. It's going to be so much fun.
I don't know. I like the slope of the trees going down. It kind of brings you back to the train.
Well,
in
that's a
the
good
rear,
interpretation,
and so, but
but you got to be careful of this the great white blob.
oh, but enhancing it, like someone else said.
Oh, you could put something. I don't know, but
Just-
you know, it
just my
depends
opinion.
where you want to go with your art. You know,
Okay, Brian.
oh, we're having so much fun here.
Okay, so this was this summer, was taken at the museum, the Hudson River Maritime Museum, and this is the tugboat, the W.O. Decker. And again, that's just one of the things that there's so many things going on. There's always something, even in the middle of a pandemic, there's always something going on that you can take pictures of. And I just noticed here that I have this terrible sky in there, so we can start this discussion all over again. I don't see this guy in this, the picture that I have on my screen. The sky has just disappeared. I'm pretty sure there was color in it when it.
I see blue.
I see blue.
Yeah.
There is a way to work with that. Depends on what
Yes.
you've got in your camera.
A slider.
Yeah.
We can work with that.
What
So,
are you using,
and
Marianne?
one of the things I liked about this was with the reflection of the tugboat in the water, which actually here on my screen, I don't really see that much of it, but the tugboat.
You had a nice reflection in the clear water too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can work with that one.
So this was just, just a shot showing the local things that we can do and the boats in the water. And I was in my kayak and I was taking a picture. And so.
You're in a kayak? Neat.
Yeah.
And you're holding it still, which is
Yeah.
great.
Well, that's the other side of it. Bobbing around in a little boat in the water.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing then in the kayak.
Yeah.
Yes, it
I
is.
was going to go paddling this weekend.
I just
but
want to
whatever.
say, the discussion's good. I think we should maybe speed up a little bit because we're only halfway through
Oh, really?
everybody's, and just to give ample time. I think the discussion is good, but I think we should probably be mindful that we've got a ways to go yet. And that doesn't mean we can't still talk about it, but we should
Good suggestion, Anita.
listen to your leader.
Whoa.
No. Okay, thank you.
Is
Hi,
John
everybody.
here? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Hi, my interest in photography probably began back in junior high school when I got my first 35mm camera, which was a Miranda Sensor X. And I also learned how to develop black and white film and had set up a darkroom in my basement and worked on the high school yearbook and did a lot of, various interesting things with black and white. So I've been interested in photography for quite a long time. And then when digital came along, that changed everything. So typically these days I'm out biking. I always carry my camera, and I tend to just try to capture scenes I find very pleasing and bring them back and try to recreate them as I see them, as I originally saw them. So I tend to like to go biking many days. My favorite times to go out is out in the on a misty or a foggy day. And this shot was taken at Minnewaska on Upper Wassing Carriage Road. And I just like this particular photo with the fog and the richness of the spring ferns coming up in the foreground, and the compositions of the of some of the dead trees that have fallen and the new growth for the spring.
Very nice.
Thank you. This I took right out my back slider where we have morning glories, and I just happen to like the rain on the morning glory. And the one thing I was debated about with this picture was including on the right-hand side the partial petal of the other one. So probably this photo might be better if it was crop square, or the other morning glory might be cloned out.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, John. The
Yeah.
white petal there. Yeah.
I think that's more of a distraction.
Yes, it is.
Um,
Next.
In this, I was out biking at a show can reservoir on the dike. And again, it was another foggy day, and I just happened to come upon these deer that were standing on each side of the guardrail. So I was fortunate to just take this photo. And I like the feel of the photo, and I also like the guardrail kind of leading off into the distance.
John, do you do a lot of photography? This sort of really low light, whatever you like to call it, photography?
I do a lot of later, and also do a lot of I tended to be out biking, and when I see a scene I like, I stop and I take the photograph. So it's a lot of different conditions, but these are the conditions I probably like a lot, or my favorite.
Because it's definitely a different genre, because I've not been able to take enough of those myself. So I'm always interested in about how other people in these conditions actually work in these conditions, really low light, flat, the whole 9 yards, everything. And they're really spectacular.
This reminds me, didn't you do a shot like this years ago that you showed in our show? You really seem to get the deer there at the Ashokan. They must love you, John, in the mist, because I remember that one from before. And I mean, this is great, but the one I remember before I was like on the floor with it. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Really got that ethereal look. You really captured the atmosphere.
Arrange those deer any better if they were obedient.
Yeah, John, did you composite those deer in there? Is that what you did?
I'm sure he did.
Photoshopped
Yeah.
them in.
There's no question. This is photoshopped.
The only thing that would make it better if one of them was actually jumping the rail.
It's just
So
a
if you
second too
can-
slow.
If you can direct them a little better next time, that might make
next year.
I love this low light, foggy photography.
it's beautiful.
There's only 2 of my images in my career that have ever managed that one. So
I love fog, and so it just really speaks to me.
yeah.
Both of them do.
Thank you.
Oh Lord. Yes, and with respect to the second one of the 2 leaves, yes, I would crop out the one on the right and have a little fun with the main subject. The first one with the trees in the woods, you can have some real fun with that one. I'm sure you can. So it's not quite so flat. Bring out some of the whites and push back a little bit of the blacks, not too much, because then it looks really artificial. But that would be my idea.
Thanks.
Wow. Starring.
All right.
Wow.
So my question is, how come nobody photographs people? Are you guys afraid or what?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know landscape photographers are scared silly of photographing people.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, you guys
I've got
probably know
2.
who my model is, right, Lee?
Oh,
Right.
Okay, so there's a great quote that I really like that I think really applies here. You don't photograph what you see. Does that bring home for anyone? So these are a series of ongoing photos, and it's done in the style of photo noir, okay, which has actually become very popular in the last few years. Photo noir is, as you can tell, it's there's a artistic term called chiaroscuro, where you have light against dark, and that's really what photo noir is about. They're mostly black and white, although you will see some color photo noir out there. It tends to be mostly black and white. And it's also the whole inspiration of photo noirs. It's based on some of those classic movies from the 40s and 50s, where there's a lot of drama. They're really moody, very introspective types of photographs. So this one here of Lee, I was kind of playing around with some of the term is negative space when you have the space that's surrounding your subject. So I was playing around with negative space instead of making it so predictable, creating more space above and around her. And I told her to look worried, to look upset, to look concerned, to kind of evoke that emotion. Now, we took these photos at night because we wanted to get that feeling of the photos being dark. I used one flash, one strobe, and tried to get that really moody look. Yeah, so I tried to keep it as simple as possible and make it as direct as possible and accent the light on her face. So, okay, we can try the next image.
Very nice.
Oh, by the way, I would like to thank Brian, the library, and Anita for doing such an amazing job.
Yeah.
So thank you again. I really want to mention that.
Thank you, John, for sharing this.
That light on?
So again, here we're working with like really soft light, soft boxes, which is what I use for strobe, are known for having very soft light. We spent a lot of time trying to get her elbow on her chin to work. But I think it finally looks good. I like the way the light looks good. And making sure that the strobe is accenting the outline of her face. And there's a little bit of backlight that we have on the back of her hair there.
Don,
the idea is to get like a really moody photo here. So this one's again is a profile. I wanted to get that really sharp light accented right on the edge of her face there. But we tried this photo with a couple of different head positions. We kind of liked this one. We played around with it a lot. And so the idea of a series here, let me just kind of throw this out real quick, is that you take a concept and you work that concept in a lot of different ways. Instead of just taking a bunch of different photos all the time, get one idea and work that idea. You'll find that a lot of great photographers do that. They'll work on a series and really try to look at that series from different angles. And I really think it'll make you a better photographer to try to really work into an idea from a lot of different ways. So maybe keep that idea of doing a series of photos. And I think you'll learn a lot from it. I find it real helpful.
John, I have some questions on that. I very rarely have people in my photographs. If they are, they're just a little part of the scene. But I've done quite a bit of photography in the desert Southwest, and quite a bit, to me, actually lends itself to monochrome black and white. And to a certain extent, the drama that goes into those photographs is similar to what you've shown here. have you ever done any of the photography out there in the Southwest with respect to atmospheric conditions like landscapes, blah, 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 that's got pretty much devoid of people, but completely with respect to the world we live in, and tried to sort of come up with something like that, which I've been struggling with. I have some on my websites that don't necessarily work all the time. Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of landscape photography too. You know, a lot of times it's good to get an idea of what you want to do even before you take the photograph. Right? Before I even started photographing her, I knew I wanted these to be in black and white, and I knew I wanted to work on a series of photo noir. So I just really like the feeling of it. So before you start taking pictures, think about, you know, why am I taking this picture? What am I trying to do? What am I trying to say? Right? And once you start thinking about your photographs in that way, I think they'll be a lot stronger. That's just my personal thoughts.
I think you're probably right, because I've struggled with that for I don't know how long.
John, I have a question. Have you considered, or have you had these published anywhere or submitted anywhere out there?
You mean generally, or these photos?
These photos or this style, yeah, recent style, or I'm wondering. I think they blow me away as far as art is concerned, and what the images are portraying. They're lovely, and the lighting and the whole effect. I just
think they're
wonder,
stunning.
if you, because I know you do submit to public.
I always have
at
stuff
any-
in shows and different exhibitions at any given time. It's just something that I pursue and I like a lot. I have 2 images at Emerge Gallery in one of their shows now. I was a finalist in the Larry Seeley competition down in Westchester. And so I always have my photos out there and around. I'm also a stock photographer. I haven't published any of these photos because this is a brand new series that I've been working on. But and any given moment, I'll have 2 or 3 different series going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you need to. This is calling, this is screaming.
So you guys want to get better, do something out of your comfort zone. Do something that you're scared to do. And guess what? You'll become a better photographer. If you're afraid of doing portraits, do portraits, because then it'll make your landscapes better. And that really, really is true. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant and rave.
I love your
Right, Bill?
creativity,
Right, Bill?
John. And I love you're always finding new things, but especially that model is something else in there, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I agree.
She's a really great model.
That's
She's
just
a pro.
like-
She puts up with my idiosyncrasies.
I love the model for him.
Tom just posted a chat and said, try to get a release from that model.
She'll never give it to me.
Applause to you, John. Make that a standing ovation, by the way.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
for sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
I've just been inspired even more.
In the interest of brevity, thank you, Anita and Brian. I think this is a real hit. You got a nice idea here with this gallery. This is fun.
You hit us.
To keep this short, I'm just a regular guy trying to do a good job at something I really enjoy. It's a lot of fun learning about photography and being creative and resourceful. The thing I enjoy the most is traveling for photo workshops. We just feel liberated to gain ideas, move in. All right, I'm getting the hint. We better get going here.
Yeah, got to get going.
Well, if I have to start with this, I will. A Song of the Catskills. I've been playing around with intentional camera movement, deliberately blurry, and minimalism. And of course, that leads to an extremely high failure rate. This one here last November in the Catskills at Cooper Lake, for me, is one of the most significant pictures I've taken in 60 years. What typically happens with intentional camera movement is linear blur, horizontal lines. But in this case, we had the mountains on that upper half. The curvature of the mountains just adds some movement. The colors were great. The atmosphere of the clouds in the sky. It was just a very fortunate day. This is only 0.4 seconds, by the way, but everything got reduced to essential elements of color and form.
Beautiful.
I got to say, you knocked it out of the park on that one.
Yeah, this was amazing.
Spectacular, Bill.
Yeah.
How many shots did you take, Bill? A lot at this time, or was this your first shot?
It was only one or two. I think it was
Really? Wow, you caught it.
This one is
It
brilliant.
was just the right subject.
Yeah.
Bill, do you ever look at Tony Sweet?
Pardon me?
Are you familiar with the photographer Tony Sweet?
No.
Oh, you should look him up. He's a great photographer. So everybody should look him up. He does a lot of these, and he's really good at it. I think you'd enjoy looking at his work.
Yeah. What was
Tony
the
Sweet?
Sweet?
That and Eddie Soloway.
Yeah, Eddie Soloway does these too also, and he's really good at it. So both those guys, it's a neat technique. Good job.
Yeah, this just blows me. This is incredible.
Love the colors.
I love this one.
It's beautiful.
You've broken every single rule. Thank God for that.
Oh, why is this so small?
Because it wants to be.
That is a good question. I do not know.
It's a
I will.
minimalist.
It's okay. Well,
I will. I will probably. I'll go in and try to replace that with a. I don't know why that one is so small.
I love the streaks. The car streaks are great. I love those.
well, this is a lot of fun. This is a feature on Olympus cameras. Let me see.
Live composite?
Yeah, while Tom was waiting for the bus in his pictures, live composite. Basically, when you start with a base exposure, like the buildings and the street, and you wait for cars to come by to create light streaks, you're going to increase the exposure as you go along, and it usually overexposes. But with Olympus, the base exposure stays permanent. It never increases its exposure, but you're adding a sequence of exposures on top of it that only emit new light. It's quite a thing it's quite a concept. So you get these crisp background images, and this was, there's some traffic in there, and fortunately a city bus came by with the LED lights vibrating across the top. And unfortunately, this is the condensed version, so we'll move on.
I remember that shot, Bill. That was our last outing with Kingston Photo Club.
A walk in the park. This is actually a color image. You wouldn't know it. Taken in February with a long lens. One of the things I hear a lot now from landscape photographers is to use a long lens more often in landscape to isolate interesting aspects, little scenes like this. And in this case, it worked. This is taken from the walkway over the Hudson, looking down on the Hudson shore in Poughkeepsie, Warriors Park. And I almost fell over when I saw the curves of the path, the trees, and then those footprints, which it's not a story, it's a novel, for God's sake. It's amazing.
That's wonderful. I love this.
Yeah,
Great shot, Bill. Excellent.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's more good advice. Bring a long lens more often. On one of my workshops, the leader was pretty provocative. He would say, all right, leave everything in the car except your camera and a long lens. Next time we went out, he said, today we're going to walk out, just take black and whites. And he would limit us. It was really a lot of fun. Well, one time we got.
So what was this, John? About
the Adirondacks, Chris Murray. Springtime in the Adirondacks. I remember one time we got to a gorgeous place and he said, leave everything in the car. I want you to walk around for a half hour before you take a picture.
Great
That was
advice.
a very
Good
simple.
advice.
Great
Great
advice.
advice.
That's a good.
Yes.
that's
Thanks for your attention, kids.
If you look at the footprints, you've got a great story going on there on what was going on in that time that you didn't see the people, just what they left.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
totally agree.
Yep, yep. Very nice, John.
I love this one.
Good work.
Very good.
Oh, wow.
Is Eileen here?
She was. Hello, Eileen.
Eileen, if you're here, let us know. We'll come back to you. Jeff is here. I know you. I just saw you.
Yeah.
So I've been, thanks for setting this up. Really appreciate it. I've been a photographer since probably 2008 or so. 2007, I quit smoking. I took up hiking in 2008, and I started taking a Canon Power Shot with me when I was out hiking. And in 2010, I upgraded to a Canon Rebel and just started getting out more and learning more about photography. And it's been quite the experience. It's a never-ending learning process, it feels like. And what I mainly do is landscape photography. I really like waterfall photography. That's one of the things I really like doing the most. And yeah, that's about me. So this was taken last year at Charles Ryder Park. I'd gone there a couple times just to try to get a sunrise that had a lot of color to it. And it seemed like every time I went, it was always a drab sunrise. And then finally I show up and this was the sunrise. And it was a foggy morning on the Hudson. And it was just, I was happy to finally get a photo at Charles Ryder with a lot of color to it.
Good shot.
It's very beautiful.
The reflections are beautiful. I mean, it really captures that color.
Yeah. Yep. There was a little bit of enhancement with vibrance, but pretty much that was the color that was in the sky that day.
I love the softness of all the color against that rocky foreground that's in there.
So this was taken this past fall. It's an out of way spot at John Burroughs in West Park. It's off trail. It's one of my favorite spots to just sneak down to and take shots of. I've been trying to get every season. I haven't been successful. I've only been able to get spring and fall. So hopefully I can get to it this summer.
I think this is outstanding.
It's
Great
beautiful.
shot.
Very well.
It's Black Creek, just to be clear.
Is that right past the parking lot?
So if you take Floyd Ackert Road, if you go to John Burroughs, there's a new trail there on the right hand side.
Right. Okay.
There's a little bit of rock climbing to get to this.
Worth it.
Yes, definitely. So last year it was a lot of sunrises for me. I couldn't get out hiking because of the lockdown. Everybody came up and filled up the parks. So I was getting up very early to go out for sunrises just to keep shooting. As Bill probably will tell you, I'm not a morning person, so it was definitely a challenge just to get out, during the summer for sunrises. This was, I think, the first time I actually went to Kingston Beach for a sunrise, and it just happened to be the perfect morning for it.
Lovely.
Very nice.
So Jeff, when you say a giclée, I always understood giclée that the painter on a lithograph would be putting some of his own or her own paint on it. But what does giclée mean with photography, which I don't know.
So it's so I do all my prints through Artcraft, and the Giclée is done on it's done on museum paper. So it's longer lasting.
Okay.
Okay, well, the point about the word giclée, basically, if you translate roughly to French, means to spit. Yeah, you basically have a whole bunch of nozzles, you blow the ink out onto the paper, and you make an image. That's it, pretty much. My printer here, and I look at this basically very large pizza oven that's sitting next to me. It looks like one, is 12 inkjets on it. And that's what I print on. It's a Giclée printer. That's it, inkjet.
All right.
12 points, Giclée.
Yeah.
The problem with the word Giclée is it's been bandied around so much that it's lost its power. That's my humble opinion. Other people might disagree, but I really think it's lost its power. And these days, it doesn't matter. With respect to what I do, I calibrate my monitor every month. It shifts slightly, and then I mess with my printer so it's calibrated. And when I print out, what I get is what I print out is what I see on my screen. Simple as that. Okay, you got to buy a few gizmos, but the word Giclée means spit. That's it.
Thanks, Alan.
So in terms of Artcraft, I've done the regular prints, glossy and matte, and then I've done the Giclée, and I've just liked the quality. The colors just seem more vibrant than your regular glossy or matte print.
Yeah, it depends on the paper.
And you also pay a little bit more too. So
yeah, if you're gonna have a calibrated printer, you really should be using the various calibration profiles that these people put out for their particular papers for a particular machine.
Jeff, first of all, they're very nice. The colors are so delicate here on my monitor. I hope they're that good, everybody else. You point out something very interesting here, that all of these locations are very close to where you live. And I tried to mention that when Carol was talking about the Esopus Meadows Lighthouse. We had a speaker at the club once, I believe it was Greg Miller, said you should have a handful of locations you can get to within a half hour and just go to them continually. Different light, different seasons, different conditions, weather. You'll see and sooner or later you'll hit what Jeff is showing, 3 bingos right here. Anyway, good advice for Carol and anybody else who has a lot of richness in the area. Like where we live here, it's just hard to choose where to go. There's so
there's so many places around us that it's hard to choose. I mean, Esopus Meadows Preserve, I go there a lot. There's Chaupanique Ridge, that's another location. So we have a lot to choose from around here.
Very nice. You got to tell me where that waterfall is. You keep that a secret from me.
I will definitely show you.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay, Eileen, are you functionable?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Woo.
All right. What happened was my computer completely died. So if anybody has any extra money laying around, they need a new computer. And so I had to go to my phone, had to figure out how to get that to work. So I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. I consider myself an amateur photographer. A couple of years ago, I got laid off from work, and what I did is I bought a camera. Oh, and hi, Alan. I used to work with you.
Yes, I see you.
And then I started spending the money they gave me, and I went on a cruise. So the first one, I went to the Bahamas, and I really was trying to learn my camera. So I'm really just trying to like frame pictures. And the story I have here on the thing though is, because this is a parrot, I don't even know what kind of parrot, but while I was walking around, this is the zoo in the Bahamas, Nassau. I forget the name of it. But in the Bahamas, everything is really, really green and jungle, except for the animals. It seems like all the birds have colors. But there was this one, I didn't know what it was. It sounded like a toddler screaming. And I was like, oh, and he wouldn't shut up. And I'm like, just give him the chocolate bar, you know, get him to be quiet. And it turned out it was a bird. And as I went looking for the bird, he was god awful ugly. I mean, I took a picture of him. I can't even see him in the picture. He just blended in with the crowd. Because I don't know what to write when I put these. I mean, this is really my first show. I don't know what to write here. And so
Captured him good.
he's definitely not as good looking as this bird. So I figured he was screaming because he had to be the most ugliest animal in the Bahamas. It was unbelievable. But I had my camera set on pretty much on automatic. So these pictures came out, other than like maybe my framing and the blurry, the color was good. And I have to say, I was amazed, and I never really understood why the color was so good until recently. And I'll explain it on the next, what's the next picture? Okay, this picture is the Tampa River Walk. It was actually taken right before noon, between 11:30 and noon. And I'd been walking down the river walk and my camera on automatic. And I'm like, well, let me just fool around with something. And I couldn't even remember what I fooled around with. And it turned out that I had turned the ISO all the way down to 400. And that's when it clicked with me with the color and that trip we took to the market with John and telling us to up the ISO. And I was like, oh, that's what ISO does. So I kind of learned something on this. But, you know, but what I like, I mean, it inspired me when I was looking at this, was putting this together, that I've started now to do my pictures in black and white, because I'm still trying to learn to like frame a picture and get my eye. And I don't know, I think maybe it might be better if I try it in black and white.
Depends.
Why do you say that?
Kind of depends, I think, on the subject.
Okay. The problem with a camera when you put it into black and white is it takes the decisions away from you. If you're going to do monochrome, human eyes and cameras always record, even the old film cameras recorded in color. Even if you, when you put a film into an old film camera, it's going to go with the tones of the colors. So you're still being ruled by the color, like it or not. I would always, even when I'm thinking about taking a black and white, which I do quite a bit, I take it in color and then I mess with the colors afterwards, with the tones, the calibrations, a whole 9 yards to come up with a black and white. So I would, the other thing is that I don't think you should ever allow the camera to take the place of your own creativity. Turn off all the stuff that's in there and take it. For me, I always take it in RAW. I can do whatever I want with RAW. Many of them don't turn out too white, too nicely. Some of them do. But I still have the options to go back and fiddle with it. I never, ever turn on my camera to anything other than, I don't want you to interfere in my photography. So I would never turn on my camera to just take in black and white. I think you're throwing away so much data. You have no way to go back with an image.
Well, I'm just really trying to learn how to take a picture with my camera.
Oh, that's part of it. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Turn off that automatic stuff and start playing. The best thing you can do is just play.
The thing is, though, is I never remember what I do. So
Doesn't matter.
That's the problem.
It doesn't matter.
All
You'll
right,
get there.
I think our time is really being pushed here now. So let's try to just stick with the photos, and a little explanation. Can we do that? I think people are probably thinking it's interesting, don't get me wrong, but I think we should move ahead a little bit more, okay?
This one, again, is they're all taken to the Bahamas, all at the zoo, and the color just caught my eye. But the original picture, there's so much more of the branches. And when I was trying to figure out how to present it, I was listening, trying to remember what Tom Hackett had said about the resizing. And before I know, this is all I had left of my picture. So, but it's pretty much the only flowers in it, so.
I think that was a good choice of cropping. I think it's very dramatic.
Yeah, also the end branches coming in should be eliminated, and then you can focus just on the subject.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, are you here?
Yep, I'm here. So I've been photographing for who knows how long, since I guess early college, which was 30, 40 years ago, I guess. And mostly travel photos at that time. And since I've come up here and since I've retired, definitely, I'm moving more and more, trying to understand a lot more about post-processing and working a lot with the club. So you can go on to my first photo. Okay, so this is Huckleberry Point. And this was a spectacular day. We came up to Huckleberry Point. It was late fall, so you can see a little of the color down there. At the time we walked up, it was a complete whiteout. And the people, I mean, any of you that have been there know that the view is just spectacular. You can see from the Hudson River all the way back into the Catskills there. But we were in a complete whiteout. You couldn't see any of the color except the immediate color right before you. And then the storm started to clear and it was just glorious. This is a pano of about, I think, 3 shots done with not a great camera, with my little point and shoot, which is 10 megapixels nonetheless, but it came out pretty well. And Lightroom, of course, did the pano and everything. You know where this is, Anita?
Giverny. Giverny?
No, this is not Kirkside Park up in Roxbury. You're the one that told me about this.
Yes, now I know. Yes.
That's why we went up, because we had talked to you and you told me about this park. So if any of you don't know about this park, you should really go up and check this out. It's in Roxbury, and this property was owned by J.P. Morgan's family. J.P. Morgan built the house that's on it, and they used to have their big picnics. And there's several bridges like this there, a beautiful creek there, and some nice little walking paths, but it's really a glorious park. And I just love, the bridge was spectacular, as was the colors.
And a nice picnic area, especially in the fall. It was lovely.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right. It was a great suggestion. I'm glad. I'd never heard of it before. It was a great suggestion. So this is right next door to where I live. One night, my daughter and I were walking down Abbey Road, which is the road we live on. And all of a sudden it was the evening sun and it hit these red trees behind the black trees. And I tried to capture the light on the red trees, but also get that black in the front. And the only thing I wish, and maybe at some point in Photoshop I would do, is to try to take away that one black branch cutting across in the front. And
I actually really like that.
No, it gives it real. It gives it a realism, Mark. It's a great composition.
Yeah,
Great
lovely.
Mark, which one is that black branch? What did you
that one? That one's the one I'm talking about. Just because
leave it.
I should keep it. It would be easier to keep than to try to get rid of in Photoshop, I'll tell you.
No, just keep it. It adds
and
to that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. No, keep it more.
We all disagree with you.
You know, it reminds me a little bit.
Oh, majority rules, I guess, on this, huh?
Yes.
It reminds me.
What did she say?
Who?
Oh, for crying out loud.
My wife?
No. Oh, Mark. No, keep it, Mark. It looks good.
Yeah, just
Otherwise,
keep-
it'd be too predictable.
Yeah.
Mark, it reminds me. a
What-
little
what
bit
did
of
Sienna
a
say?
film strip. Excuse me. Reminds me a little bit of a film strip.
Yeah.
What did Sienna say?
About the branch, she didn't say anything. She likes the photograph. My wife loves this one. So this is
Yeah, well, they're all right.
yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, very nice.
Is Chris here?
I don't know. I talked to him earlier. He said he was coming, but
I didn't
I don't
see-
know. I don't see him.
I didn't see him on the list.
Okay.
Wow, too bad.
Cornelia's
Yeah.
here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm pretty much self-taught. I've taken classes online. I've written a few books, mostly poetry. And my last book, I added photography to it, and I put it in a separate section from the poetry, and it actually won an award. I live right now for about 7 months out of the year in Florida. I'm in North Fort Myers. I'm on a golf course, and throughout the course of the day, when I'm out on the golf course, I see these birds. And so the first one, the wood stork, was at one of the ponds in between holes 2 and 3. And it seemed like it was posing for me. And I felt like a bird whisperer. And it just spoke to me. And I like that I was able to get close enough to get it into sharp detail, as well as some of the reflection in the water.
What I think works for this particularly is the foreground around the tree.
Yes,
The
yes,
colors just hanging out there, and the tree itself really puts a nice little extra touch to it. It's not just about the bird.
And I'm pretty sure I cropped this. I took this, I have a new iPhone 12 Pro that I've been playing with, and I love the pictures that are coming out of this camera. I always have the camera with me. So I see something and I stop and I run out, and hopefully, my subject doesn't fly away. So, yeah, so that's what I'm doing there. This was a day trip visiting friends at Nokomis Beach. They had rented a room and they said, come on down, we're over here. And we stayed long enough to watch the sunset. And the subject here, of course, is the hammock under the pavilion. And
how do you get to it?
And yeah, right. And you've got the leading lines, you've got the color, and the sky just kept getting prettier and prettier. So that appealed to me.
The horizon on this is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Again, this is a white ibis. And I'm not sure if I was still on the golf course or if I had gone to one of the nature preserves. It could be at Ding Darling, which is on Sanibel Island. And I was able to zoom in on this bird, just kind of walking through the water, looking for food.
Too much, or.
And I do like to up the saturation and
Yeah, you have 7 minutes to say what you have to say, because they're going to, well, how about you talk for 2 minutes and then the person.
I don't know who that is, but
So
Yeah, it just seemed interesting to me. It was a solitary bird in the foreground and I zoomed in on it.
Nice effect with the water too, on the top part of the photo.
Thank you.
Okay, very nice. And Paul, is Paul here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Hi, Paul.
For a while, I could hear you, but I couldn't see you. But now I can see you. I've been taking pictures since high school and doing developing then. And the school had a dark room in front of the chemistry lab next to the teacher, and which he let us use. So I did some black and white developing then, some enlarging. This first picture is of North Beach in Kingston.
Whoa.
That's cool.
That's one of the kite flyers who is flying his kite.
Yeah.
It seemed like a pretty nice day to take some pictures with the clouds and everything.
Mhm.
There's usually something doing at North Beach to take, not necessarily kite flyers, but boats and swimmers or something. And this seemed like an interesting picture, so I took it. And this is from the Rhinebeck Watchtower. And on this particular, this was in the fall, which the colors were pretty good. And there's a layer of clouds too, which made this sort of interesting. That's not always the case if you try to take a picture from the watchtower. I would have maybe liked to have seen a little bit more contrast, but I took what was there.
Very nice.
Mhm.
What is this?
That's it looks like smoke from something.
Yeah.
The clouds, you mean?
Yeah, this looks like a, because there's nothing there. There's no plant or factory or anything there, right? Does anybody know?
There might be. That's on the other side of the river.
That might be the
cement factory there.
No, this is our side of it. This is our side of the river.
Oh, we're on this
west side.
County.
Yeah.
This is Dutchess County here. So this would be
Yeah.
Ulster County.
Yeah, but that's across the river.
Yes, it is.
Right. Oh yeah. It's in looks like going towards Saugerty somewhere.
Yeah, or even cement.
Is it that plant that's off of the near Glasgow Turnpike as you're crossing Socrates to Woodstock?
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, but I like this picture. I like the colors in this.
Yeah, beautiful. Patchwork of land. Nicely captured.
I'm waiting
Oh,
to take
someone
pictures.
just wrote in, smoke is from Solite on Old Kings Highway.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. That would make sense.
Thanks,
Kings
Monica.
Highway.
All right. Did you just have two, Paul?
Yes, I only had two.
Great. Larry.
Are you able to see me now?
No. I'm not able to see you, but I don't know if anybody else is.
Is you sitting on the branch of the lower left-hand picture we're looking at? No. Just
Is Larry here?
I
guess not.
Okay. Well,
Well,
let's
that is the end. Unless Chris is here. Did Chris come back? Yes, no?
No.
Okay. Well, then that is our gallery, and you can go onto our website, and it is under the events tab under our best shots. And then you can actually look at the pictures full size as well, and pull them up. Every picture except for Bill's really tiny one that's
Yeah.
needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am gonna.
Wonderful.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank
For
you.
doing this, Anita and Brian.
And everybody
Thank
else
you.
together.
So just a quick reminder for our members who are present that we have a Zoom regular meeting